Hey everyone, will the full retirement age for Social Security increase from 67 to 70? That's part of a proposal that's out there, and today we'll dive in and talk about who this would affect and how this could change things for a lot of people. But look, before we dive in, if you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button and click that notifications bell too. Social Security is going to go through some big changes in the years ahead, and I'll be right here breaking those changes down into plain English so you'll know how to plan and prepare. So speaking of changes, if you want a glimpse of how Social Security may change in the years ahead, read the Republican Study Committee's alternative budget for fiscal year 2023. Now, I'm going to link this up below. Despite the negative press this report received, specifically the part about moving the Social Security program from mandatory to discretionary spending, there are a lot of common elements between this reform proposal and those that have been either proposed or discussed by Democrats. I think that with a few minor tweaks, we could see much of this worked into law in the coming years. One of the things they want to do is increase the full retirement age to 70, but there are some other changes that I think do bear mentioning briefly. Now, I may cover these more in depth in a later video, but today I just want to hit the very surface of those and then dive into the change of full retirement ages. They've proposed to increase the minimum Social Security benefit. Their estimate is that by 2050, low-wage earners would receive a benefit that was 38% higher than the current law provides. They want to modify the benefit formula to reduce future benefits for higher income workers. Their plan will phase out taxation of benefits. They want to start using 40 years in the benefits calculation instead of the 35 that's used now. And they want to eliminate the earnings test for those that file for benefits prior to full retirement age. And then one that would have deep consequences, they want to phase out auxiliary benefits. So that's spousal and children's benefits for people they class as high income. Now, one common theme of all of these changes is that they wouldn't affect anyone who is currently retired or close to it. Most big reforms to Social Security are gradually phased in, and all of these changes would be the same way. A perfect example of this is the way that full retirement ages was raised the last time in the 1983 amendments. Up until then, the full retirement age was 65, but the new law increased it to 67, but it took a 22-year period, and right in the middle, there was an 11-year stretch where it didn't change at all. This is their way of turning up the temperature slowly, so the end result is the same, but it's less abrupt and painful for a large group of voters. And this is the same way they plan to do it this time, and I'll get to the details of that in just a moment. But first, let's talk about why the full retirement age needs to change. I'll just say right up front that I think the argument for increasing the full retirement age makes perfect sense. It hasn't been adjusted since the 1983 amendments, and the system just needs to adjust for increasing life expectancies. You know, if you go back to 1940, life expectancy for a 65-year-old man was 76 years. For women, it was 78 years. Now, since that time, life expectancy has increased to 84.2 years for men and 86.8 years for women. And keep in mind, those are just averages. About 1 out of every 4 65-year-olds today will live past age 90, and 1 out of every 10 will live past age 95. So with individuals living longer, Social Security has to make more payments to each person than they did in the past. And this means that the program's promise to provide retired workers with a certain monthly benefit for the rest of their lives is now significantly more expensive than it was when they made that commitment back in 1940. And with the funding issues that Social Security is having, that's obviously a drain on the system. So based on that information alone, it seems as if raising the full retirement age is a sound, reasonable plan. But as with every other proposal, there are a few ripple effects, and I'll get to those in just a second. But let's talk about the actual proposal and how this would be implemented. The way they are viewing this is that it will simply be a continuation of the gradual increases of the full retirement age that current law has set in motion. There wouldn't be any changes for someone that was born before 1967, but starting with birth year 1967, the full retirement age would increase by 3 months per year. So for example, those born in 1966 would have a full retirement age of 67. But for birth year 1967, that would increase to 67 and 3 months. Those born in 68, it would be 67 and 6 months. Those born in 1969, it would be 67 and 9 months, and so on. At this rate, it would mean that for anyone born in 1978 or later, the full retirement age would be age 70. And once this change was fully implemented, the full retirement age would be indexed to changes in life expectancy. Now, there's not much information on which index would be used or how often it would change, but the important part is knowing that indexing this should prevent this from being a problem again in the future. So far, this sounds like a perfectly reasonable plan, but there are a few downsides, and one of the big ones is, what if people's filing decisions didn't change? Let me show you how that could be a problem. Keep in mind that the reductions for filing early are calculated on a monthly basis. If an individual wants to file at the earliest possible age, that's 62 currently, and their full retirement age is 67, there are currently 60 months between when they filed, if they filed at 62, and when they reach full retirement age. But if you push full retirement age out to 70, there are 96 reduction months. This makes a big difference because if there are more months between the earliest date you can file and the date you reach full retirement age, the reduction to your benefit is greater. So for example, if your full retirement age is 67 and you file at 62, you'll get about 70% of your full benefit amount. But if the full retirement age is raised to 70, individuals filing at 62 would receive 55% of their full retirement age benefit. So let's say your full retirement age benefit is $2,000 and your full retirement age is 67. If you file at 62, your $2,000 benefit would be reduced to $1,400 per month. If the full retirement age was increased to 70, the same individual would only receive a benefit of $1,100 if they also filed at 62. So one of the big questions again is whether the filing behaviors would change if the full retirement age was increased. And we know that currently about a third of all retirees file at 62, the earliest age possible. And if the increased penalties for filing early didn't change this behavior and people continue to file as quick as they could, I think we'd see more seniors with household incomes under the poverty line and possibly a further drain on other government programs to help meet their needs. So some have suggested that the fix for this is to increase the minimum age of eligibility to 65 instead of 62. But then there's the strong possibility that this scenario could incentivize more people to file for Social Security disability benefits instead, because those aren't reduced based on your filing age. And when you look at the statistics, they show that nearly half of all workers leave work earlier than expected. And of those who left earlier than expected, 2/3 of those people left for health reasons. So if the full retirement age increases and now they're faced with a decision to file for retirement benefits at 55% of their full benefit or disability benefits at 100% of their full benefit, I would expect those disability applications to skyrocket. And if the administration saw a big uptick in the number of disability cases, it could easily dampen the cost-saving effect of having increased the full retirement age. And then there's the issue of fairness. Those who are opposed to the idea of increasing the full retirement age say that although raising the retirement age affects everyone equally in a rough sense, it affects incomes unequally because those with a low income tend to depend on the income from Social Security more than those with a high income. So what seems like a simple, straightforward issue just gets a little more complicated. Now, ultimately, what we and all the politicians have to face is that any solution to reform Social Security is going to cause pain to someone, either those people paying taxes or those people receiving benefits. There's just no way to fix the system without it. And I do suspect that an increase to the full retirement age is going to be a part of any package of comprehensive Social Security reform. But one thing is for sure, I'll keep watching this. And if you want to stay informed, you can count on me to cover it right here. So be sure to follow or subscribe, depending on the platform you're on. Also, remember, this is your retirement. Continue to learn about how to make the most out of it by using the resources I have, like the retirement planning cheat sheet. This is where I've taken the retirement plan contribution limits, income limits, tax tables, and a lot of other important things you need to know about retirement. And I break it all down to just one page, and it's completely free too. So I'll link that up down below. Thanks for watching.